Hello, sunshines. Today is Friday, the 31st of July, and I have not recorded anything for the podcast the entire month of July. Not because I don't want to, but every time I think about sitting down at my computer to record a regular podcast episode, I get extremely overwhelmed and start panicking a little because we're still mostly in lockdown and July has been a really stressful month, and my computer is in the living room, which is a common space, so my kids are in there a lot, and yeah, I just start like every time I think about recording a podcast. But I miss you, and I have things to say to you because even though I haven't been recording, I have been knitting a bit and reading a lot. So I think I'm going to kind of vlog style together what will basically be the normal content of a podcast. It just won't follow podcast procedures because right now I'm going to talk about what I'm reading. I'm going to show you what I'm reading. I've gotten to that point where I've been too stressed to knit, but I'm getting back to being able to knit. And also it was really, really hot for like 3 weeks. It was in the 90s. We don't have air conditioning. Normally it's not a problem because we just go to the park or the library or the beach, but that hasn't been an option. And also, sorry, Mara just walked in. I don't know what I was saying. It was really, really hot for a while there, and my car has been out of commission for 2 weeks now. I tried to take it into one shop twice. They didn't fix what I thought was wrong, although they did fix something each time, but they were like minor fixes. And then I tried to take it into the dealership, and hey, I'm recording, so quiet. Okay. And the dealership called me at 7 a.m. to cancel my 10 a.m. appointment, left me a voicemail because I didn't pick up because it was 7. It may have been 7:30, but really 7:30? I was awake. I just didn't have my phone by me, and also it was 7:30 in the morning. Who calls that early? My personal feeling is nobody needs to call anybody before 8 a.m. unless you work overnight or it's an emergency. Anyway, so I called to reschedule, or I called to reschedule. I left a voicemail. They did not get back to me. It has been a week. I assume they're not getting back to me. It's fine. My car is in a third shop right now. I've not yet heard back with what is actually wrong with my car. I have to guess because I don't know about cars. But if I had to guess, I would say it's some sort of axle or a wheel bearing. Patrick thinks that I cracked a shock. I don't know what's wrong with my car. I just know that she is not driving the way she is supposed to. Her name is Vroom, by the way. She's an SUV. She's a Vroom because she thinks she's a race car. So yeah, it's in the shop. So I haven't even been able to do, like, we had been going to the park, not playing on equipment, keeping super distant from everybody, but like just to be outside in like fresh air and stuff. We had been doing that a little bit. We've been to my dad's a couple times. He has a trampoline, a pool, and 20 acres. My grandma has 40 acres. My dad has 20 acres, and they go quadding. And so for one of the really hot weeks, my kids were with my dad, which was super nice because at least they weren't stuck inside. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. And I can't handle hot. I am not good with hot weather. It makes me sick. If I'm in the sun too much, I get headaches. being hot just makes me irritable and also gives me headaches and sometimes migraines, depending on how hot, no matter how much hydration I have. And let's talk about this right here. So I quit drinking soda because the flavor brand, whatever, of soda that I was drinking a can every day is Dr. Pepper, but then I found out about how they have practices that do not align with how I feel. So I stopped drinking that, and Patrick got me cherry Coke, and I don't like the way that tastes. So I just quit drinking soda, because why would I drink something that I don't like just to get the effects of caffeine? And then, so I was drinking chai lattes every day that I was making at home. And then for a couple days, I just didn't and went through the caffeine withdrawal headaches, but they were much less bad than they would have been if I was still drinking soda, because when I make lattes at home, I make them like a lot more milk and a lot less tea than they do at stores. We had like 3 gallons of milk to go through in a week. So yeah. So I quit caffeine. So my face has been breaking out because I quit soda and caffeine pretty quickly after each other. Yeah. So my face is rebelling. Yay! Super exciting for you, right? I think that's like most of the life stuff that has been going on. Oh, no, there's one more that is relevant, is how I was going to finish that sentence. But also, we're in the process of getting our roof replaced. So we had an insurance person come out and look at it, and my brother has been a roofer for a really long time, and now he's trying to get his contractor's license and stuff. So like going back and forth between like how to do that with him so he can get his license so he can do the roof, because at least then if something goes wrong with my roof in like a year, I can be like, hey, this thing that you did, fix it. It's a problem.
Mom, how do you spell gracefulness?
GRACE
Mm-hmm.
FULNESS. Is that really a word? I don't know. Okay, so do you guys want to see what I'm reading and also what I'm knitting while I'm reading? So just earlier today, I finished reading and working through Me and White Supremacy by Layla F. Sad. I should have looked up the pronunciation for her name before I came here. I'm sorry. I'm super out of practice. So yeah, this is a really good resource, but I've been working through it this month, and this is another thing that has been taking my mental space and emotional energy. It's a 28-day challenge. I did it originally when it was an Instagram challenge. I took part, not vocally, but kind of as an along sort of thing. And so I felt like back in January, I was like, you know what? It's been about a year. I want to do it again. So I put this book on hold in January. And then I ordered myself a copy. And my copy, I did not order myself a copy. I ordered myself a copy in June, I think. My copy is still not here, but then my library copy came in. And I know that this book is in a lot of demand, so I didn't want to tie up resources. That's not what I want to say. I didn't want to hold this longer than I needed to, so I've been doubling up on days. So yeah, it's just been taking up a lot of mental space. But it's really, really worth it. If you haven't read it, if you haven't done the work in this book, definitely get it. You do need a notebook because there are journaling prompts every day, and I highly recommend actually journaling your way through it, because if you're just reading it, you're missing half of the point. But anyway, I finished this today. I've been reading this for a few days, a chapter or 2 chapters a day, American Spy by Lauren Wilkinson. This is one of the 2 books for the Shelby and the Book Club book club. That was a really horrible sentence. I'm going to go with it for the month of August. And this is the first book that's being read. This will be covered in the first 2 weeks of the month, and then there's another book that will be covered in the second 2 weeks of the month. I'm going to actually start that other book tomorrow because it's a horror book, so it's probably going to take me a while to get through it because I need space from scary things sometimes. But I've started this. It is about a Black woman who is a spy who is basically telling her story to her 2 sons. So it skips around in time, but not in a confusing way. And yeah, it's a really, so far it's really good, really interesting, and I'm liking it a lot. So I am also reading. I started this this morning early, like 5 a.m. when I woke up. Selkie Girl by Lori Brooks. I picked it up because of the title and because of the cover. I'm not very far in it. Yeah, 25 pages. It's not grabbing me, so I don't know that I will stick with this book. Or maybe I will make this something that I read a few pages as I feel like reading before I start reading something else until I get into it. I think the problem is that the main character, whose name I don't even know, she's not here yet. Right now she's just a girl, and I just want it to be magical. So I'm going to go grab a different book off my shelf today also. And as for knitting, I have been working on this sock today. It is a Regia Perfect sock. I don't remember what this pattern is. I will try to remember to link it at the bottom because I can get on Ravelry just long enough to search up a pattern. I believe it's a free pattern. I used it before on my hamster's sock. I don't know. So yeah, I'll put that at the bottom. This morning I picked up from the gusset, so I'm through the gusset decrease and I'm less than 30 rounds from the toe. I might finish this sock today if I do a lot of reading. I don't know. Did you just write that whole story since you came down here?
I'm writing it.
Right, but did you just write this whole thing since you've been down here? Look at this. That's a whole page in the 5 minutes or whatever since I started talking. Okay. I am going to go read some and maybe check in with a finished object in a little while. Bye. Good morning. It is Saturday morning. It's about 6:30 in the a.m. I am about to go on a walk, but I finished this book this morning. You know, that book that I started yesterday? It is a romance novel. It's kind of a romantic comedy. Super good. The main character has fibromyalgia, which is cool. I don't know that I've read more than like 2 or 3 books where the main character had some sort of disability. So I appreciated that. It's cute. It's really cute. There is another book in this series about the main character's sister, one of her sisters. So I will be sure to pick that up soon. Really, really enjoyable. And then, since we're here, let's have a moment of discussion about Deacon King Kong, which I read in the past month. I know that I had just barely started it last time I talked to you. It was so good. So I have also read The Color of Water by James McBride. I read that in college and I remember liking it, but That was such a long time ago. It was a book that all incoming freshmen were supposed to read. So, yeah, that was a long time ago. But this was really, really, really good. It follows the story of, not like a life story, but it follows Deacon King Kong, who is a deacon at a church, and one of the other members of the church has like a, what's that called, a home brewing thing. Oh, it's early, so my brain is not on everything. He makes his own alcohol, and they call it King Kong, and this particular deacon is always drunk. So it takes place in New York, in cause houses, which are like poor apartments. And there is some gangster business, there is drug dealing, there's some historical stuff. It deals with race relations, but not in your face. I don't know what my cat's doing. Yeah, really good. Highly recommend. And now for a brief knitting project interlude. So, last time I saw you guys, I was talking about these socks and how I took out some stripes up here because the perfect socks, let's see if I can unroll this. These two socks are not, the sock and this sock are not the same size. This is a 72 stitch sock. This is a 60 stitch sock. No, this is a 70, not 72. But as you can see, this is lacking stripes. So I took out 2 stripes in this sock and did sock surgery. And I was right down here, right below that. I had just started the heel last time I saw you. And now I have both of those socks finished. And P.S., I'm almost done with this sock. I have 1 round to go and then a Kitchener. So this sock, let's consider it finished. And then the second sock will be started probably immediately after, so I still have something to read. So I still have something to knit on while I'm reading, even. So these are also a Regia Perfect pair. And when I got to the second sock, I just cut out that yarn so I didn't have to do any surgery, as I said I would. I also finished a pair of shorty socks, and they say boat in duplicate stitch down the front. It's just a really basic, do I have an end that I need to weave in? Apparently I do. Or I need to trim. Anyway, it's a really basic shorty sock. The same sock pattern that I always use. I think it's based off of Rose City Rollers by Mara Catherine Brenner. But I have modified it to fit my foot better. Obviously it's not rolled at the top. It has some ribbing. So yeah, really quick, I will just go over what my recipe is. So I do a stripe in ribbing, if I'm doing self-striping, a stripe in stockinette, and then fish lips kiss heel, and then between 60 and 65 rounds of stockinette, and then my toe, which is kind of a modified, what is that, a wedge toe maybe? I don't remember. I do decreases every round for a while, or every other round, and then I do the last several rounds decreasing every round because my feet are wide. I've been told by multiple people that I have Flintstone feet, so having a really pointy toe on my sock doesn't make sense, but yeah, duplicate stitch vote. And I will be wearing these in a couple days because August 4th is voting day in Michigan. And then I will wear my longer vote socks in November. But I wanted to have socks that I could wear on voting day. These are them. Oh yes, yarn. So the stripy yarn is 716 knit, 716 sock. Obviously it's a self-striping colorway. It is a controversial name, so I will either insert a picture of the card or type it at the bottom of the screen. There is a swear, so that's coming up in 3, 2, 1. Okay, now the swear is gone. So yeah, those are my voting day socks. I'm super excited to wear them. The last knitting thing to show you is my last active knit. No, I have another pair of socks to show you. It's in my sock drawer. I'll have to get it in a little bit. Okay, so this is another thing I'm working on. It is the Filigree Hat by Woolly Wormhead. I am knitting it out of Dream in Color sock, maybe. I don't know. I have the tag somewhere, so I will insert it. And it is a very beautiful pattern, but not one that I can work on while I'm reading, except for, you can see right here, they're kind of rest rows, sort of. There's this section where you don't change or where you don't do any crosses for a few rounds, but it is very 1/1 cross heavy, this pattern. It's really, really beautiful though. I'm almost through the first pattern repeat. I could not be happier with my yarn choice, with my pattern choice. It's going to be really, really lovely. This is one of the patterns off of my non-sock Make 9. So I had quite a big leftover of this color yarn after I test knit the socks that I will show you at some point in the future. So I decided that instead of putting it into my blankets at all times, I think I had about 70 grams left over. And before I put it in my blankets, I would go ahead and make another thing out of it. So I went to that Make 9, saw this hat, thought it would be perfect because I don't have a lot of, I don't know, what would this be considered, a semi-solid or a tonal? I don't have a lot of those types of yarns in my stash. And while I am definitely not afraid to use variegateds and speckles and those sorts of things in projects at all, as you've noticed, I thought that this pattern would look nicer on something on yarn that was a little cleaner is not really the right word, but it's the one that's in my brain right now. So that's the one we're going to go with. So I'm really enjoying this knit. I'm going to get to here. This is my beginning of round so that I can start on this this kind of rest section while I'm reading, because I can do that while I'm reading, but I cannot do the 1/1 crosses when I'm reading. They're just too close together. So what I've been working on this mostly has been, I worked on it, I did about a quarter of a repeat at Knit Group on Wednesday, but I have done most of the knitting while walking in the mornings, or Gabriel and I took a walk to our local library. Not our local library. The library we go to. Definitely not our local library. That's only like a mile away. The one we went to is closer to 4 miles away. So it was, that day we walked 10 miles because we also went to a park. So yeah. It's not fast going. I don't think this hat will be done particularly quickly, but it's really, really enjoyable and definitely something I can work on while I'm walking. So, and it's also super, once you know the pattern that you're doing, like once you have this memorized, it's really easy to work on. It's super easy to read your work, and I don't have to refer to the chart at all, and I haven't even finished the first pattern repeat, but I'm getting close. So, yeah, it's really, really lovely. I definitely need to look at more woolly wormhead patterns in the future. These socks are the ones that I was talking about having leftovers from. They are Closed Circuit by Alicia. She stays making stuff on Instagram. I will link below the pattern. By the time this video goes up, I'm sure it will be released. So I will link it, or at least tell you where you can get it. So yeah, it's mosaic knit, 2 colors. So it gives the look of stranded without actually having to work stranded color work. And what I did, a afterthought heel as the pattern recommends, but I did mine with short rows on this part of the heel to give me a big enough gusset area for myself. This yarn is a Nerd Girl Yarns. I don't remember the colorway. So yeah, really great pattern, really quick and easy. I made these socks over just a few days, or less than a week. I would say probably 3 days per sock minus the heel, and then the heels took another day, so a week. Very quick project. Very, very pretty. And you guys know me, I'm not afraid to use variegated yarns in things. So I'm really pleased with how these turned out. And while we're here, let's talk about a couple more books. This is Last Child in the Woods by Richard Louv. I listened to his book, I don't remember what it was called, but it was all about nature deficit disorder in adults. I listened to that maybe last year, maybe earlier this year. So this was full of lots of good, interesting information about how we are out in nature less and how that is affecting us more. I recommend this. I also read the beautiful author I cannot pronounce. I should have looked it up before I started recording, but it is what it is. I didn't really like this book. So it's a young adult vampire book. It's set in, I think, the 1800s, but I don't remember exactly. There's a love story. The vampires are not like typical vampires. It wasn't what I wanted it to be. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't what I wanted. So I don't know that I would read the next book in the series, which it seems like this is set up to have a next book. But it wasn't terrible. It's just, I don't know what I wanted it to be. It just wasn't that. Whatever that was, it just wasn't that. I read Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, which was so much fun. The main character, super awkward and weird, and I'm not gonna lie, my freshman year of college was kind of similar to hers. She doesn't get out much. I wasn't quite as reclusive as she was. I went to college with my best friend. Our dorms were in buildings next to each other, so I wasn't quite as reclusive. I did make it to the cafeteria, you know, the first day or second day or something, instead of subsisting only on granola bars or whatever. There's a love story. It's pretty cute. And the other really big draw is that the main character, is a writer of fan fiction, and the last book in the series is coming out. So it would be like writing Harry Potter fan fiction right as the 7th book is coming out. So she's trying to beat that deadline and, you know, have some social life, and she
has, and she also has to do her schoolwork and stuff, and she has a twin sister who's like a mega socialite at the college, and like that causes all sorts of drama. It's really, really good. And apparently there's a book that is her fan fiction written by Rainbow Rowell. Like the author writes the book of the fan fiction. I don't know if that's 100% the case, but I think that's what it is. I have that book out from the library and plan to read it maybe next month, maybe the month after. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that a lot. I read The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw, which is about witches. There are three sisters who, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, something like that, in this portside town were drowned for being witches, and now their ghosts come back for 3 weeks every summer. And each ghost kills at least one boy in this town. So it was really kind of creepy. It wasn't overly predictable. There was suspense. Everybody in the town is trying to figure out which girls are possessed. Um, yeah, it was really good, and I will be reading another book by this author very soon. I have one out from the library. So yeah, I'll be reading that very soon. I read Never Caught, the story of Ona Judge by Erica Armstrong and Kathleen Van Cleve. It is about an enslaved woman who was the quote unquote property of George Washington. She escapes. He spends his whole rest of his life trying to bring her back because, how dare she run away from him? He's the president of the United States. Um, it's pretty good. There's a lot of um, there's a lot of speculation by the authors. Like she must have felt this sort of thing, which felt kind of wishy-washy, but it was well researched. There was a newspaper article in the back. Um, Overall, a pretty good book. I also read The Stars Are Legion by Cameron Hurley, which was weird. It's a sci-fi book. I don't usually read sci-fi. It's not my favorite genre. So they live on planets. There are several planets, but the planets are actually kind of giant spaceships, but they're made of like metal and organic matter. And the one that the main character lives on is dying. The organic matter is dying. So they are trying to take over this other world ship thing. But the main character, the narrator, is unreliable because she has been reincarnated but without her memories. She has a relationship with this other woman. So all the characters are women. She has a relationship with the other women, but she can't remember what happened with them. So we spend most of the book trying to figure that out because she doesn't really remember, but she's trying, like, she remembers some things. She travels her entire planet. So there's a lot of world building. It's good. It's just sci-fi is not my jam. But I try to read it every once in a while because I like the idea of sci-fi. I love how imaginative it is. I love the idea of the world building. I just don't actually love it. I know that is totally weird and doesn't make a ton of sense, but that's how I feel about sci-fi. I want to like sci-fi. I just don't like sci-fi. I don't hate sci-fi though. I also read The Sun is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, which was so good. Like, The Fault in Our Stars good. I kind of got... So the story is, we meet the main character. She and her family are illegal immigrants. I want to say from Barbados, but that might be wrong. So they're illegal immigrants and she's being deported that night. So she's spending the day trying to get this decision reversed so she and her family can stay. And she meets a first generation Korean American boy whose parents emigrated, and it's just so good. The whole story is so good. There is racial tension. There is immigration stuff that I don't know about, would have never learned about. Yeah, it was just, it was so good. I need to check out more by Nicola Yoon because I feel like I am going to love it. It's so good. If you haven't read it, go read it. They also made a movie out of it, which I didn't see, but I'm probably going to see if I can find it on streaming or see if the library has it to rent. It was super, super good. The book, I highly recommend it. It was an emotional roller coaster. It had me laugh out loud. It had me sobbing tears. It had me stay up way too late reading it. I read it in less than 24 hours. It was just so good. Okay, I think now we're all caught up on what I knit and read this month. I think that August is likely going to be another vlog type episode, not a real episode, but maybe in September, depending on the state of the United States and the rest of the world, maybe I'll be back to regular podcasting. I don't know. But I will talk to you again sometime next month. See you then. Bye.